Right. I'm ready to roll if you are.
Let me just set this down.
All right, I'm ready.
They're coming in through the back.
I really wasn't expecting that. That was good.
They're coming through the back door. Get that children. Get What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the latest episode of Screen Woven. I'm one of your co-hosts, Chris Davis, my friend Daniel. And welcome to episode 9?
I think it's 8.
8? Episode 8. Which is going to be really thematic. Very, very Marvel-centric episode today, which I'm excited for a few reasons. I think every little topic that I kind of want to touch on today, reaches some form of Marvel entertainment. So that's pretty cool. For me, especially, I know the general public says the MCU and stuff has been in decline ever since Endgame, so almost the last decade, which is wild.
That's crazy.
But I think that recent developments are kind of evidence to the contrary a little bit, which we'll talk about. But how have you been, man? What's been up?
Good.
Been doing good? I hear you've been on a comic book hunt.
Yes.
So let's touch on that real quick. I just think that's an interesting topic for anyone who, likes this sort of stuff. Maybe they are or are not into comics. So what made you go do that?
I just felt like it.
Okay.
I just felt like
you heard it here first. He felt like it. He's a grown freaking man. Don't tell him what to do. And he went to go get a comic book. So
the irony of that statement. He's a grown man, so he went and got some comic books.
Hey, that's not ironic.
That's totally ironic.
All right.
Look, I'm not saying it's wrong to get comic books as an adult man. I'm just saying it's not typically associated with adulthood.
Hey, if you say that, you've clearly not been in enough comic book stores.
Well, that's fair, I guess.
Every time I'm in the comic book stores, that's all that's in there is grown men. Every now and then someone has their kid with them. And I'm like, you just brought him to take it. You're here for you.
Yeah.
Shut up.
You're trying to get your kid into comics.
Yeah,
is what it is.
If anything.
Yeah, I mean, one time someone was like, at work, they were like, Daniel, do you watch TikTok? And I said, no, I'm a grown man. and they got...
That being said, we have a TikTok account now.
So they laughed a little bit, and then they're like, "Bro, for real." And I got mad, so I slammed my juice box down, and I said, "I'm a grown man."
My juice box.
Now let me get back to my Lego set. Anyway,
hand me those Fruit Loops.
So comic books.
Fair enough.
The last episode actually is kind of what led me into it, because you were talking to me about Secret Wars and Doomsday, and like one of the things you said.
Great plug, by the way. Great plug. Go watch the last episode.
That's true. Yeah,
that was brilliant.
Thank you. Boom, man, that was a solid fist bump. Like it sounded like it hurt, but it didn't. That's how you know it's good. It's if it's got the sound that's like darn, but it doesn't hurt at all.
Yeah.
I could have punched you in the face.
Did y'all hear that? Let's do it again by the.
Anyway.
You say you could have punched me in the face?
This is a super delayed reaction. Yeah, that is what I said.
Okay.
And it wouldn't hurt.
I don't know. It probably would have.
I mean, I'm a guy who reads comic books, so.
Oh, my gosh.
No, so the one thing in particular that you said last episode was actually what kind of got me thinking, I should try to do comics. Well, actually, it was that and one other thing, but... The thing you said was like you were talking about how significant of a choice it was to choose Robert Downey Jr. as
Doom,
because you were telling me like I don't think you understand how essential Doom is to like the Marvel universe and everything, and I don't know, it just got me thinking. It was like, I've never really given comics a try. I've just kind of always thought they're not my thing, and so I was like, it would be kind of fun to go into this new phase this new Avengers thing they're setting up with a little bit more understanding of the comics. The second thing that made me do it is I kind of wanted to get into graphic novels recently. So I picked up some fun ones, partly because I was considering getting into them as far as the writing space. So I was just curious about them. And I picked up 2 of them, and they were both really fun. And I was like, wow, I really like this. And that made me think, why wouldn't I like comics, like Marvel comics? I mean, it's like the same thing.
Yeah.
But the 2 I picked up were Amulet and Bone.
Bone. Okay, yeah, my brother-in-law has like the whole collection of all the Bone trades, but they're all in one like omnibus.
Yeah, see, I don't like that one because it's not in color. Like,
no, he has both. He's got the
okay.
black and white and the color collection.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
To me, like, I tried the black and white, and it just sucks the life out of it. Like, I mean, I get why people like that, but like for me, it's like the feeling of the page on the colored ones and like the way it looks. It's a whole lot of fun.
Yeah.
I never realized how fun they were.
He was just telling me like I think a day or so. I think yesterday I saw him, and he was telling me like. He's like, you really got to read these.
The Bone ones?
Yeah. He was like, you would really like these. It's a great story.
Yeah, it's
actually,
funny too.
It completely makes sense that you would like it because he kept comparing it, at least parts of it, to like a Middle Earth thing, like one of the worlds they go to or they're from or something like that. I don't know. Obviously, I haven't read it. But so yeah, it sounds like a little bit of like fantastical elements, a little bit of serious, a little bit of funny.
Yeah.
I could see where that would be right up your alley.
It's definitely fantasy. Like the thing that actually caught me about it was the look of the character. They're from Boneville, and then these like little creatures made of apparently solid bone. That's what they look like. And I just thought that was really funny and really interesting and like a unique, because one of the things I'm tired of in fantasy is it's always elves and dragons and dwarves and goblins, and which that's fine if people are into that, but I'm like, I kind of want to branch out, see what else we can do. So that was the thing that caught my eye. I was like, oh, that's a really unique. I mean, they do have dragons in the Bone novels, but the fact that they had the little main characters like a unique
like
idea.
a whole
It's fun. You would like them. They're pretty funny.
Little tangent. I actually just watched a video Daniel Green put out on his YouTube channel where he was looking at the top fantasy series as voted on by the fantasy subreddit. Do you want to guess what number 1 was on this list of? I think it was at least 300, if not 500, like entries.
Was it The Chosen Knight by D.P. Rowell?
Wow, what a good guess. How did you know?
I have a knack for these things.
You've been really holding out on me, by the way. You're rich.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Who do you think bought this $10 microphone? My dad, actually.
Oh, man. No, it's a little older than that. It's a little older than that.
The Illyrian. No, I'm just kidding. No, I don't know. I have no guess.
Lord of the Rings.
Oh, yeah.
The Middle Earth saga trilogy, whatever.
What's funny is I was going to guess that, but I thought, nah, that's too easy. But it should be number 1 because...
Well, apparently it wasn't last year. Last year it was the Stormlight Archive when they did this list. And that one was, I guess, like 2. It was number 2.
Okay.
And so it moved up. Stormlight dropped down to 4, which
interesting.
It's probably because of the latest release. A lot of people apparently weren't very happy with it.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
But anyway, yeah, I just thought it was interesting.
You know how we were talking about how things compound and like the next generation of things is usually better than the first? Fantasy might be the only example where that's not the case. Because Lord of the Rings continues to be the big dog because it's just so good. Like there has never been a fantasy movie or world that has been more interesting than the Lord of the Rings in Middle Earth.
It's something I can't really comment on obviously right now just because of my position where I haven't read it yet. I really would like to read those this year. Like that's...
Well, you probably wouldn't like them though, the Lord of the Rings.
Well, and see, that's what I'm worried about is the fact that my intro to like adult fantasy and like high fantasy and stuff was the King Killer Chronicle, which is already extremely unique in how it's written. And from there, I've gone on to do, Brandon Sanderson and Matt Denneman with the Dungeon Crawler series, like all these things that are really highly renowned. Every single one I just mentioned was in the top 20 on that list. And I think Lord of the Rings remains that highly regarded. Not even necessarily, I'm not saying it doesn't stand up to the test of time, and I'm not saying it doesn't hold up by today's standards, but I'm saying that for a lot of people, that was their intro to fantasy, and so they can respect it for the fact that it is like the foundation for what fantasy is today.
Yeah.
And for me, it would be kind of like, like you grew up your whole life watching, like the MCU, like kids now growing up watching like the MCU, and then like going and watching like an action film from the 80s.
Right. And
it's like those 80s action films really help make the action genre what it is today, but like they don't look as good, they don't look as polished. I got an actual real life example that's perfect. When I watched the Star Wars movies, like all for the first time, all in a row, I had seen bits and pieces of most of them here and there. But when I sat down to like watch them, because The Force Awakens was coming out.
Oh, okay.
My buddy was like, I know they came out in this order, but I'm going to show them to you in chronological order so that you'll kind of like understand the story, like how the story flows. I was like, okay, that's fine. So we watched the prequels first.
Yeah.
And what's funny to me is all I hear about from like diehard Star Wars fans is how many of them hate the prequels. But for me, watching those first and then watching the original trilogy, it made it really hard to enjoy the original trilogy because I just watched these movies where like the fights were so much more energetic and, CG was much more advanced at that time. And, they just were a little more fast-paced movies. Those first three were a lot more like story-driven than they were action-driven. And a lot of the action was like ship battles and stuff. And I really liked the lightsaber stuff,
right,
which was more prominent in the prequels. So,
well, there's also a story reason for that is because in the original trilogy, the Jedi are all wiped out. So
that's fair. That's a good point.
You don't have them anymore.
That's a good point.
But I totally agree that the action, the fight scenes, that's the best part of the original trilogy. All the fight scenes are super cool. Like in episode 1 with Darth Maul and Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
Oh, that was such an awesome fight scene. I think it might be the best fight scene in the whole series.
It had some really good, like, I really like the one with Yoda and
oh yeah, Count Dooku.
Where he's like jumping all over the place. But
when I saw that in theaters, the whole everyone in the theater went nuts, and I didn't realize it at the time, but I realize now it's because people have been watching Yoda since the 70s.
Yeah,
be this old, like they never saw him fight, and like now they're seeing him in his prime. It's a really cool thing.
It was very, very cool. So for me, that's kind of an example of that. Like, I can't say that the original series isn't better than the prequels. It laid the ground for the prequels to exist. But they were more fun to watch for me. It's kind of the same thing with Lord of the Rings. I think it's probably 3 fantastic books. 4, I guess, if you count The Hobbit. But I just don't know if I'm going to like have fun reading them.
Well, you gotta think about it from the perspective of, first off, the Lord of the Rings films are the best fantasy films that have ever been made. Still,
that I can believe.
Yeah,
I really can believe that.
That's part of what's giving me this perspective. Like, I've never, for some reason, fantasy doesn't get a lot of film. I don't know why, but anyway,
because it's probably hard to make.
That's fair, actually. But you gotta think about the original trilogy. You gotta understand Tolkien if you really want to enjoy it. You're gonna have to enter into it without expecting it to be this really gripping like narrative that like what's the character gonna do next? Like that's Name of the Wind has a lot of stuff like that, and Brandon Sanderson is full of stuff like that. It's like what are the characters gonna do? Like this, that weird guy comes in, he's hearing a voice in his head, like. Yeah. But in Lord of the Rings, what Tolkien did that was so revolutionary at the time, he basically invented the genre of epic fantasy and high fantasy, because he created these maps, this whole world that didn't exist, and people were like, this has never been done before. What is this? So he actually studied language in college, and he invented a language, and then he wanted to start building lore around the language. So it's better to think about Lord of the Rings almost like you're reading the history of this other world that exists, rather than this really well-crafted narrative. And the story is really good, don't get me wrong. I mean, the films make the stories like all the more exciting to me. But if you enter into it with like this is a guy who is, he goes into all these long details about the types of world, because he's trying to do something that hasn't been done before. He's like showing people this is a completely different world, and here's how things work and stuff. So it's more like, think of it more like lore, or like almost like tabletop. That's
right.
A good way to think about it, I think.
Yeah, that actually might be a good perspective to go into it with eventually when I pick them up. But I just felt like that was an apt example. But not to stray too far, I just thought you would find it interesting as a fan of the IP that it is number one on Reddit's fantasy list, which is
That's
crazy.
Fantastic news.
Crazy. When did those come out? The 50s, 40s?
I think it was 1945 when he published The Hobbit, and then it was the 50s when The Lord of the Rings came out. I think
70-ish years, give or take. Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy, man.
He's like the Beatles of fantasy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's really insane, but the longevity there is something you got to respect. So anyway, I just wanted to tip my hat at that. But back to so you went to a couple comic stores.
I went to pretty much everyone in Columbia.
Okay.
At least as far as I could find.
You had mentioned 2 to me, so I didn't know if that was okay. But Scratch and Spin in Columbia, you went there yesterday, and you actually ended up picking up a couple issues. So what'd you get?
I'm a little disappointed because I don't think the guy understood what I was trying to ask. He gave me, I'm liking the story, but it's not the story that I wanted. He gave me a One World Under Doom. He gave me the first 2 for the price of 1, which is cool of him. Because I was asking him, like, I want to understand Doom as we're getting into Secret Wars and stuff. And he actually recommended I just get the whole volume of Secret Wars, which is like $25. It's got all the volumes in it. Or not volume, I guess volumes. I don't know.
Trades, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. So
if it's a trade, it has all the issues. And if it's like an Omni, it has all the trades.
It's Omni. Yeah. That's what it is. An Omni of like all the Secret Wars. So it's starting off with the Avengers are talking in One World Under Doom. It's got a really cool opening, but they're already talking about how we've defeated Doom once before. We can do it again. And I was like, I kind of wanted to get an intro, like whatever line. Comics are still confusing to me, but like I want to figure out what line this is pulling from and go back to when Doom first showed up.
So here's I'm just going to real quick interject. Here's the complicated part, like to his credit. When you mentioned Secret Wars, and he's like, "Oh yeah, man, here's like the trade, here's like the thing for Secret Wars," and then you started the first couple pages, and you're like, "Ugh, this kind of feels like I'm jumping in the middle of something, and I kind of want like the beginning." When they say we've defeated Doom before, they could be referencing anything from like a thing that might have happened a month or 2 prior to that, or like decades, because comics.
So is it kind of ambiguous which universe they're pulling from? Not really. It's just that
these comic universes, and I'm not sure if Marvel does it quite as much as DC, but I know they kind of have these like fresh starts for characters somewhat here and there, but they do these like resets, and it's kind of weird because like they do these resets, but also at the same time they still pull from like old things as if like this version of the character went through the stuff from the old story, even though it's kind of a reset new story thing. It's complicated. Like it's a lot. It's a lot. So what I think he was doing was he was like, "Oh, you want to know about Secret Wars? Here's the Secret Wars thing." And when you were like, "Oh, well, I kind of need more of like an intro into like where is this coming from? Like know more about Doom." he was probably just more like, well, here is some relevant Doom content. It might not be the exact thing that leads into that Secret Wars.
Sure.
But like, this is what you need to know about the Doom you're trying to know about for that.
Okay, that makes sense.
That could be where
I guess I'm starting to get it now. It's sort of like these. Yeah, I think the way you explained it helps me kind of understand it. I'm just thinking. I'm used to reading like novels and watching movies, so I'm used to really linear type. It's like, I don't know anything about this character's past. What do you mean they defeated Doom before? It's like, yeah, but so what you're saying is they could have defeated Doom in like several different universes, and they could be referencing any one of those.
Well, not even universes, but just like they would have, like if the comic came out in like 2020, that Avengers team could have faced Doom like any time from the time that Doom was around, like his first appearance with the Avengers, like all the way up to something that maybe had just happened leading into that comic, you know. And that's probably what they even meant in there's like, we beat him before at some point, you know, like they faced Doom multiple times, I'm sure, but
interesting.
And that's the thing. I was actually going to say that, but you took the word right out of my mouth. Is like, it's not that it's non-linear storytelling. It's just that there's a lot of lines and they all kind of like loop and curl and twirl around each other, and it can be really hard to like when you're just jumping in, it can be really hard to untangle them and figure out, okay, like I need to, like this one book might split off in 3 different lines that you need to kind of like follow to get the before story. It just, you know,
that makes sense.
And you got little spin-offs and offshoots and one-shots here. And
well, I wish that they were just at least titled and labeled clearly. Like, it would be nice if they had, like I don't know, let's say you have the Infinity Saga, right? Mm-hmm. And you can even have all these different lines and stuff, but you're like, Infinity Saga number 1A, 2A, 3B, like, or the Wolverine story in Infinity Saga, you know, and then like, that way you know, okay, if I'm reading, you know, Infinity number 53, whatever, then if I want to know more about what happened before this, I can just go back, look for the Infinity stuff and follow the trails and chase as many branches as I want to. But it's not really like that. It's titled so ambiguously. It's very confusing.
It is. I was, I can't remember if it was the Moon Knight, one of the more recent like Moon Knight runs that they did, or Doctor Strange. It was one of the two. And I was buying the issues of it like bi-weekly or monthly whenever it came out. And all of a sudden, like, it was like I had to go start this whole other character's storyline just to continue what was going on with the character I was following, because they were in both. And I was like, I don't want to buy 2 issues like of this thing I haven't even been reading. I don't even know what's going on in it. Like when stuff like that started happening is when I kind of realized like I can't follow comics like I want to, because how I want to follow them is issue by issue.
Yeah,
I would love that. I like the fact that I'm supporting that industry because I do feel like it could use it if it's going to try and remain around, which I would enjoy. But also the fact that, I mean, they're fun stories and I love the art and I love seeing all these new like takes on my favorite characters and stuff. But it's time consuming, it's complex, it's complicated, and sadly, I mean, it is expensive because it has to be, because printing is more expensive. So there's just so many things to it. What I've kind of decided that I've kind of started doing is I've started collecting omnis. So that way it's more expensive at once, but in the grand scheme it's cheaper, because instead of buying issue by issue by issue, I get like these massive books and they might be like $60-$70, but you get all the story.
Yeah.
All of it collected in one place. And usually there's a little bit of extra art thrown in there because it's like a special release thing or whatever. So I've got quite a few now. I enjoy having those. I think that's something I'm going to continue to do. I'm going to slowly probably start to sell off a lot of my trades that I have that I'm just like, you know, I bought these at a time when I was like, I'm not spending $60-something on a giant book. Like, you know, I'll get these as I can here and there, but it's so rare that I sit down and read a comic anymore at this point that when I do, I want to be able to just read it. I don't want to have to like read 7 pages of it, and so
what Eric told me at Scratch and Spin was like the Omnis are better for like story if you want to just follow the story, but the value, especially the collector's value, is in the floppies.
That's true.
So
like if you're looking to get into it as like I want to collect the special covers, and I want first appearances of characters, and I want first prints of this, absolutely, by all means. And I would encourage anyone out there who's even remotely interested, please go to your local comic store, local bookstore, try and get the current issues. You can make money in that. You can get them graded, just like trading cards. You can get them graded and slabbed up, and then you could be sitting on potential money in the future. When I was doing the Moon Knight run, there was a new character that made a first appearance in one of them, and I think I own it. That might have been one that was hard for me to get because I was reading. It was like, I was on like issue 8 or 9, and I went into the store to get to the next one, and they didn't have it. And I was like, didn't it come out today? They were like, yeah. And then I went to Scratch and Spin, and I tried to get it there and couldn't get it there either. He had to order me, I think, another issue is what it was, because he was like, yeah, it was word got out that there's a new character making a first appearance. So people who weren't even reading it came to pick that issue up just to have it, because who knows if that character is going to blow up or not. So
interesting.
Can you imagine having like a Batman comic with like the first appearance of the Joker, or the first appearance of Red Hood, or even Hush, which is a much more recent villain. That first Hush storyline blew up like crazy. So having the first print run of it with Hush, that's pretty big. So people go do that just in case. So I would agree with him. If you're in it for like monetary value, especially because you can buy them for like $3 to $4-ish typically, and then potentially later, who knows what it could be worth. Yeah, the individual, the floppies or whatever he called them, those are the way to go. But for me, I want them more for the complete story, and also I appreciate the art, and the Omnis are printed a little bigger, so you get more of the detail of the art and stuff. So that's kind of the route I've decided to go with them.
That makes sense. It sounds like Omnis are more like graphic novels.
They are. They're just much bigger. Like how big that thick book is, that's like laying flat right there on that bookshelf.
Oh yeah,
they're that big.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
So they collect a lot more of the story. So if you're in it for that, that's the route I'd go.
Yeah, well, I might consider doing that. I might just get the Secret Wars Omni. But that's why, as you were talking, I was like, this is why I think I prefer graphic novels to comics, because graphic novels have all the benefits of comics. You got all the cool artwork, but it's super linear. Like Bone, there's like Bone 1 through 7.
Yep.
And you just read the whole story. Or you can get the whole story collected into one thing.
Yep. And that's the cool thing about Omnis too, is like if you're in the middle of a storyline in the Omni, and like let's just say in real time when it was being printed, there was like an offshoot where like part of the story took place in like for example, if you get like a Batman Omni and you're reading, and then one of the like main events, or like even if it was a side event that they feel is like important to that story, happened not in like the Detective Comics run of Batman, but maybe in like Batman and Robin, which is same Batman, just a whole different storyline running parallel, and simultaneous to that one. They throw that issue into the Omni as well.
Okay.
So with that one, you don't need to go get the Batman and Robin Omni to finish the Detective Comics Batman story. They'll just tuck that issue in and let the story run.
Gotcha.
So it's pretty cool how it collects what it collects and stuff like that. Like I said, I really enjoy them. I think they're worth doing.
Awesome.
But anyway, so moving on from that a little bit, I wanted to hear your thoughts on your experience and what you got. So have you read it yet?
I'm halfway through the first one.
Okay.
I haven't had a chance to sit down and read it because I was watching my daughter a lot yesterday. But yeah, I'm halfway through it. It's fun. I mean, I like it.
Okay.
It had a cool opening.
Okay.
So
yeah, Doom's really cool. I think, now I've never read those, but I think you'll enjoy him as a character. If done well in the movies, I think he's going to be a really fun character. So,
yeah.
Which from there, I guess we'll kind of move on to the movie news.
Before we do that, I have an announcement. No, I'm just kidding. But I just really, really quickly, because, by the way, you remember we talked about upcoming movies that we were looking forward to? I completely forgot The Last Mission Impossible. That one's coming out this year.
See, I didn't forget it, but I thought it had come out.
No.
Okay.
Hasn't come out yet.
Wrong.
Yeah, that's one I'm looking forward to. Anyway, we talked about Karate Kid Legends, and we were talking about you watching Cobra Kai, and now you've seen the first 2 episodes.
I have.
Okay. So just before we get into Avengers, just maybe like a little 2 to 5 minute spiel. I want to get your initial thoughts.
Okay. So I don't really remember a lot of what you told me about the show. But I do know that I also had conversations at work with a coworker who we talk about a lot of different movies and shows and stuff, and he's huge on Cobra Kai. He loves it. And we got to talking about it. It's like, yeah, my buddy, we're doing a podcast, and he's wanting me to watch it. That new Karate Kid movie's coming out. I'm thinking about checking it out, and he got real excited. He's like, oh, dude, you're going to like it. He's like, I'm telling you. He's like, give it a chance. Because he said, in my opinion, which I didn't know this, and sorry if I'm wrong. I don't know if this is true or not. I didn't know this, but it was a YouTube thing at first?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was on YouTube Red.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that. He goes, it was a YouTube show first, and he's like, but you could tell when Netflix picked it up, you could tell they got more budget, and you could just see the show get bigger. And
well, that's true, but I still think YouTube did a fantastic job with the first 2 seasons.
He wasn't knocking it. He was saying, like, for me as someone who told him up front, like, it didn't catch my attention a whole lot with the trailers were interesting, and I was like, I might watch that. And then, like, I think I even told you, like, I started the first episode at one point, and I just kind of bounced off of it. Not that it was bad. I just didn't really vibe with it at that time.
Sure.
He was letting me know that, like, give it a chance. Like, he likes all of it.
Yeah.
But he's saying, like, for someone who might not go into it really excited, give it a chance. Like, it's good. It gets better.
Yeah.
Like, the show itself gets bigger and better. So I'm, with that in mind, I'm going into it like, okay, very tempered expectations. Probably not going to love this first season very much. And just kind of trying to remind myself that maybe this is something that's more like going to be worth it in the long run. And I started the first episode over because I think it even said I finished it, but I didn't remember hardly anything from it. And so I started it over, and man, I watched that and the second episode, and I went back out later that day at work. I watched those on my lunch break while I was doing stuff, and I told my buddy, I was like, it gets better?
Yeah.
And he started laughing. I was like, dude, that was phenomenal.
Yeah.
I was like, that, like, don't get me wrong. I mean, it's not world shatter, like world breaking. I mean, it's things you've seen done before, but to me, it's really cool. The lines they draw to the movie, that first movie, the dude is still driving the old Firebird from that, but like now it's not cool.
Yeah.
Like it was cool in the movie. Like, oh wait, yeah. And it's all beat up and sun worn, and he's like down on his luck, and the way that they connect his story with Daniel's is so cool, because not only do they like bring his car to his shop, which I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense of like how, but then on top of that, you find out Daniel's daughter is the one who her friends and her wrecked into the car.
Yeah.
So like, he's got like a legitimate reason to be upset with her and think less of her as a person in the show. But like, Daniel just thinks he's like a jerk. Like, so man, that little standoff they have in the dojo at the end of episode 2. Oh my gosh. Like, for a second episode of a show's first season, that was chillingly good. That back and forth, like,
dude, you haven't even. It's just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah. So I'm very, very excited.
It's funny you said that though. Like, it gets better because I kept thinking that, like, especially at the end of season 1 finale, I was like, dang, wow, I don't know how they're gonna like do better than that. Season 2, my jaw was on the floor. The finale for season 2, the whole time, and I was like, how are they gonna make anything after this? This is it. And they somehow just keep weaving things in it. It's not like Dragon Ball Z where it's like, no, he's Super Saiyan 20. You know, it's like they keep changing things and weaving the story in a certain way where it just subverts your expectations and it changes the stakes. It doesn't, and it does raise them, but not like how you think. It's not like they're just things get more intense. They just get more complicated. And then the way the show ended completely was like the best conclusion to a show.
Well, I was going to say, I know while I was watching it, I was sitting there thinking about you telling me in that episode we had done prior, where you were like, this was probably the best ending to a show I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like, for all the characters, like, even the couple things you said you could nitpick, you were just like, all in, like, it just ended great for everyone. Like, it was perfect.
One thing I will warn you about is just like a little caveat. When the show focuses on the teen drama, it's not as fun. Like, there's parts of it that are kind of cringy, and I'm just like, ugh. When they focus on Daniel and Johnny or like any of the adult stuff, that's when it's like super, super good. But even the way that they ended it made even the teen drama be like, oh, it's totally worth it. It ended so... I loved all the teens after that, after the end, too.
Well, and the thing... So, I don't know.
With the exception that there's a few teens that are really cool.
It feels like the Daniel and Johnny thing kind of takes a back seat as the show goes on. I'm basing that solely on little clips I've seen.
Yeah.
Like for example, when I was on Netflix about to watch it, they play a clip from what I can only assume is like either the last season or second to last season, where they're like standing at this they're standing in this group at some kind of like karate competition, and I'm assuming it's like a huge deal. There seems to be teams all over the place and whatever. And by the way, the dude who in the first 2 episodes, it's like whatever the main character's name is, the main teen character, Robbie,
or Miguel,
whoever the main character is, like
Robbie and Miguel are the 2 main ones. Miguel is the one in the first season who Johnny takes under his wing.
That's who I'm talking about.
Okay, yeah.
So who's Robbie? The boyfriend of Daniel's daughter?
No.
Who's Robbie?
I think you've already met Robbie, but I don't want to say in case you haven't met him yet.
Well, anyway, in like the first or second episode, Miguel in his school goes to like sit down at the lunch table with these 2 kids, and one of the kids is like, one of them is super funny. He is so like sarcastic and funny. I like him. But the other kid, I know him because he plays Magic. He plays Magic on YouTube with a lot of like the biggest like Magic the Gathering channels. Like he's on there a lot. And he would always introduce himself as, hi, I'm so-and-so from the show Cobra Kai. And I'm like, oh, cool, you're on Cobra Kai. Okay, nice. Cool. Well, in that like first episode or whatever, he's like super, super shy and awkward and quiet. And then like in this clip, he's got like a giant mohawk with like the American flag in it. And I'm like, is this the same kid? Like, what?
I'm so disappointed that you saw that.
Why? That's a spoiler? His hair?
Sort of. I mean, I won't say anything because I don't want to spoil anything.
Just go ahead. Just tell me.
It happens fairly early on in the first season, so it's not like it's a huge spoiler later on. I'm not going to tell you what happens, but like that hair is like a part of that character's arc. So, I mean, I guess since you don't know that, it's not a spoiler, but you'll see when it happens. It's not like this huge thing. You'll be like, oh yeah, I could see why.
Fair enough. I was just like, that is not what I pictured you to go do, man. But all right, hey, rock on. It looks cool.
He is my favorite character of all the teens.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I'm excited to see where that goes with him. Anyway, all that to say, I'll wrap it up there. But I watched the first two. Very excited to watch more.
Nice.
I enjoyed what was supposed to be the low point, the like introductory point. So if it only gets better from here, I am very excited to see, the rest. And what I got, like 4 seasons?
6
seasons? Oh man, yeah, I'll be eating for a while. I'll be eating good. Especially in the absence of Invincible, Severance, and The Boys. Like none of my other shows are coming out. Yeah, this will keep me going for a minute.
This is Providence, my friend.
I don't know.
God wants you to watch this show.
Oh, okay. And then also, and this will kind of veer us back onto the track we were going, but I checked out some of Daredevil yesterday.
Oh, you watched it?
So I didn't get as caught up as I wanted. I didn't know there were 6 episodes out already.
Yeah.
But I did carve out enough time to watch 3.
Okay.
So I'm halfway through what's out. I don't know what you were upset about in the first 3.
Oh man, I'm starting to not like it now.
Well, you told me that yesterday, and I wish I could have got caught up enough for you to tell me why, because I'm sure you can't tell me why. Right?
Well, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, pretty much.
But
I can maybe tell you why without spoiling anything.
Well, I loved the first 3 episodes. I guess spoilers up to the first 3 episodes of the new Daredevil show. They started out with a bang. I mean, I did not. Let me back up and say this first. I expected Foggy to die at some point.
I did not. I hated that so much. I hated it.
They weren't even going to bring them back for this show.
Really?
Yeah, like it was kind of a last minute thing that they brought him and Karen back at all.
Yeah, because Karen hasn't even after that court scene, she still isn't back, and I'm like, this is the original. That's the Daredevil that I loved, like with his friends and stuff.
Well, and I think that's why they brought them back, was because people wanted that. But like, I think their goal is to distance themselves somewhat from the Netflix one and kind of be their own thing. And I mean, I get it.
Boo.
I mean, it's. I'll put it like this: I don't think they need to as much as they clearly want to. But I do get it. Like, I can understand them being like, no. Like, we're doing this just so we don't have to start over. And we really liked Charlie Cox, so we didn't want to have to go cast a new Daredevil. But, like, this is a new thing. It's a new story. Blah, blah, blah. It's like when we were watching them last night, my wife was like, when Fisk got elected, she was like, he's the mayor already? I was like, yeah. And she was like, that happened really fast. Like, there was really no lead up into that at all. Mm-hmm. He just entered the race and then boom, he's the mayor. I was like, well, to be fair, it's kind of overdue. Like, in a lot of the comic storylines, he's been the mayor. Like, he's been the mayor for a long time. That's like one of his. There's definitely ones where he's not, but like Fisk as the mayor of New York is a pretty major part of a lot of Daredevil and Spider-Man and stuff like that stories. Those street level Marvel stories, just because it plays out so cool to have him be, in such a position of power, but like they know the dirty behind the scenes stuff. So that didn't bother me. Foggy dying didn't bother me, nor did it surprise me. I think I even told you before I watched him, I said, I already have like a theory, and you, to your credit, you kept a really good poker face, because your reaction to me saying it, I was like, dang, maybe I'm wrong. Like, I thought for sure he was going to die. You didn't crack a smile. You didn't grin. You didn't even blink weird. You were just like, yeah, all right. I was like, oh, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I figured someone died just because of how the trailer was when it came out. So I was right about that, and right about kind of the scene when it happened, but I was wrong. I didn't think it would be the first thing that happens.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
Well, and I will say I loved that aspect of it. That
Me too.
Came out like that, and the fight scene was awesome.
Oh, it was so intense.
But then Bullseye is just gone now. Like, they spent the whole season 3 of Daredevil setting up Bullseye.
I'm going to be honest with you. It's bullcrap. He should have been dead. He should be dead.
Why?
He smacked the pavement.
Oh, well, yeah, there's that too. I'm just saying the fact that they wrote him out of the show so quickly.
And not to mention, I think that night, that the events of that night would be so much heavier for Matt in dealing with whether or not he should come back to be Daredevil if he had killed Bullseye. Like,
yeah.
Foggy dying is sad, and I know that he's going to struggle with that, and he is, because he misses his friend. And I could see even where he maybe sort of could blame himself for it because he went the wrong way. He fell for the bait, whatever, blah, 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 blah. But he's also not an idiot. And I think he'll easily be able to get over the fact that, like, it wasn't his fault that Foggy died. But if he was also, as a Catholic too, dealing with the fact that he killed someone, he crossed the line that he always said he never would, not to mention the dynamic he would have with Fisk at that point of like, I don't like you because you do these things, and Fisk maybe being able to find out, but you killed Bullseye. Like, that would be such an interesting dynamic.
Yeah.
I'm okay with the fact that they didn't. I think it's a little cheesy that they actually had him thrown off a roof, slap the pavement, and then get up and walk away from that. But whatever, neither here nor there. To your point, as far as like him being alive and just no longer being in the story up to that, at least to where I'm at, after they send him to prison, I mean, it makes sense, like, that he'd be away for a minute. I would almost not be surprised if he doesn't come back. That might have just been them in one more way trying to... So, like, you start this show off with all these connections to the Netflix one. And slowly, one by one, Foggy dies. Karen moves away. Bullseye gets sent to prison. Okay. The only thing connecting us to the other one now is Fisk and Daredevil. And, I mean, you're not going to get rid of them or you don't have a show. So, that might just be where this is going. I could be wrong, but...
All right, so you're wrong. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, no, that was easy.
I'm with you. It's like I told you, I'm torn because... In one sense, I thought it was really, really, really good, but I'm just disappointed in the way they did some things. It's like, Foggy was my favorite character in the whole Netflix show, and it felt like they did it just for that reason. It's like, we're doing something new. It's like, well, why did you? And then now Karen's not even in there, and then like it looks like she's not even she's in San Francisco, like she's not even gonna be a part of the show. Really, it seems.
Well, see, I would disagree with they only did it to do something new, because Daredevil, he's got to go through some kind of struggle. I mean, you got to have something.
He could have killed someone.
I agree. I still think him killing Bullseye would have been arguably heavier than Foggy dying, because you don't lose a friend, but you crossed a line that you set for yourself at the beginning of the first season of the first version of this show. I'm not a killer, and the whole thing that he had back and forth with Punisher, which Punisher being back in this, that would have made their dynamic so much more interesting.
That was in the third episode?
No, I'm talking about. I know Punisher's back in this show.
Okay,
but I'm saying the back and forth that they had in like the season 2 of the original show, that would have made when they meet back up again in this so much more interesting, because his whole thing with Punisher is like, I get where you're coming from, man, but you're doing this the wrong way. You cannot be the judge, jury, and executioner. There's a system for a reason. And Punisher's whole argument is the system doesn't work. It's full of corrupt people. And so because of that, I don't give them a chance to go out and hurt more people. So like, it would have been interesting if instead of Foggy dying, he actually lived, but only because Matt had to do the thing that he didn't want to do.
Right.
I agree with you on that. I'm just saying I can understand why they thought losing Foggy might hit with the audience harder than just him killing Bullseye.
I mean, look, it's got like 87% from audience on Rotten Tomatoes, so I'm clearly in the minority here. Like, most people love the show, and there's a lot that I love about it. Don't get me wrong. It's like I'm constantly torn because it's like I don't like that they killed Foggy, and I don't know. I've said my piece about it, I guess. What happened at the end of the third season? I just want to make sure I know.
Third episode? Oh, man. So this is where I start to kind of wish I didn't know as much as I do about the show. I could be wrong, but I think I'm right. The third episode ends the whole thing was the court scene where they're trying to he's trying to get Emilio, I think his name was Emilio, the White Tiger.
Yeah.
Found innocent for killing a cop.
Mm-hmm.
Which, by the way, oh my gosh, the scene that ends episode 2 where he finds the Nicky Perez and he goes to his apartment and then the cops come,
yeah,
and he sends him out the thing, and they're like roughing him up, and he's just kind of letting them beat him up, but then they're gonna kill him, and he's like, no, please,
Yeah.
like, and they think he's like begging for his life, and
Yeah.
he's like begging for theirs.
Yeah.
He's like, please don't do this. And as soon as he hears the thing cock, he's like, all right, bam, 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 just like goes ham on them.
Yeah, that was amazing.
And then the visceral scream at the end because he's just so because he just kind of ruined his whole case.
Yeah.
Like he feels like he just screwed everything up by doing that.
Yeah.
But then the little standoff that starts the next episode in the bathroom, which was so funny. The guy walks in, he's like, "Oh, so you're a blind lawyer who can fight?" He's like, "I'm sorry, who's there? I'm visually impaired." That was hilarious. And
I did tell you every episode has ended with a jaw-dropping scene that's been like, what?
Well, and to that point, episode 3 ends with White Tiger back out on the street, and as soon as he like hears someone calling for help and he goes that way, all of a sudden he's like standing somewhere and you just see a gun come from the side and bow, just shoot him in the head and he dies. And then they start walking towards the thing, and as the light hits them, it's the Punisher's vest.
Yeah.
Here's the thing I wish I didn't know. Spoiler alert in case you don't know what I know. So
are you about to spoil the rest of the show for me?
I don't think, because we've already talked about this.
Okay.
And you told me you wish I didn't know it.
Okay.
But spoiler alert for you, if you're not, even if you've seen episode 3, like I have, just a warning. I don't think it's the Punisher, because
I don't think it is either.
the cops all have the Punisher stuff on them. So I think they've kind of like appropriated his logo, and they think that they're like a force now of like Punishers, which I don't think Frank's gonna like very much.
Yeah.
I think he's gonna kill a lot of cops.
I'll tell you what I don't like, which I'm not gonna spoil anything, but they kind of so I hated that they just, I mean, again, it's a love-hate thing. It's like, it was such a huge twist. It's like, now he's dead. The whole case is completely pointless now because he's dead. I think that they're setting it up to, I don't want to say anything to spoil anything, but
for him to come back as the Gray Tiger.
I am the Tiger, the Gray. No, I was making a Gandalf.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Anyways,
because at least I've seen Lord of the Rings.
I love that. That's just a recurring joke now.
I'm sure they love it too.
Yeah.
They just turned the episode off. I don't even care.
I forgot my place.
You were dancing around spoiling something, but like not spoiling something.
Oh, they're kind of leaning into the dirty cop thing. Like, I love the way they did it at like with White Tiger was awesome. I loved all that. I love the dirty cop storylines. It's super cool, but they're kind of leaning into it and the whole system is corrupt thing, and they're starting to slowly push more of a cultural narrative like that applies to our real world. It's what it seems like, and I'm really not liking that. It's really pulling me out of the show. Because from what I've seen, Disney has been kind of like slowly pulling back from that kind of stuff, and I'm not here to say that you should view one way or the other about that stuff, but I'm really tired of getting like cultural ideas pushed at me. Just serve the story. I just want a good story. This is supposed to be something that brings us all together, regardless of what you think about that stuff. And they did it in such a dumb way, and I think it's the next episode that I'm like, we're supposed to feel sorry for this guy? I don't know. And I'm trying to say it without spoiling it, but basically they're starting to lean on the whole system thing. This is why I said I'm starting to not like it. And that is starting to changed some character motivations that I think are ridiculous. Like, they just don't align with what the characters really are motivated by or should be motivated by based off of their previous things. To be fair, they kind of hinted at that, and then they included some actually legitimate motivations to get characters moving. So it's not like they did the whole thing, but they're just dropping they're putting some drops in the bucket every now and then. And I'm just like, it seems like every episode, they're doing a little bit more of it. Mm-hmm. The other thing, well, no, I don't want to say that because that might spoil something. So that's all I'll say for now. Okay. But overall, it is a really good show. I'm really into it.
I'm enjoying it.
What did you think about when Fisk mentioned that he's not going to have people running around in a spider costume anymore?
I loved that. Yeah. That made me grin. I was like, oh my gosh, yes, thank God.
I know. I'm really hoping he shows up in this show.
That would be something I would genuinely lose it.
Yeah, me too.
Because I feel like that would have leaked by now. And if it hasn't, if they manage to keep that under wraps, I'll lose it.
I will too. I'm so excited to see Spider-Man as the new, like, no one remembers who he is. He doesn't have the Stark outfit anymore. Mm-hmm. I'm so excited to see that.
Yeah, me too. I'm really, really excited for that. But even if he doesn't, I'm really excited just for more of this show. Like, it has been really, really fun in the 3 episodes I've gotten to see. So I'm the next 3 that are out, I can't wait to tear through them. But there was something else I was going to say. I saw an image. They're already filming season 2.
Oh, wow.
And I saw an image from it, and he's in his, like, black Daredevil suit with, like, the red trim, and he's got the DD on his chest now, from the comics. So I don't know what makes him do that, but that's pretty cool that they included that, because that's, like, one of the only things that was missing from his costume. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, I wanted to touch base on that just because I told you I was going to try and get caught up. So hopefully by the next time we do an episode, we'll both be on the same level and we can talk openly about it. But
I have so much to watch. I have to watch Nobody. I have to watch Law Abiding Citizen. I just got to do it, man. I just got to do it.
We can do those one at a time, though.
That's true.
I think those warrant an entire episode of just talking about them. I think you're going to geek out about Nobody, personally.
Okay.
Personally, right. Nobody is like a really cool blend of comedy and action that I think you're just gonna. I just think you're gonna enjoy it.
All right.
It's just different. But
I'll have to start with that one then.
I really want to watch that one with you.
Okay.
I really want to watch that one with you. Like Law Abiding Citizen, I could be fine. Just you watch it, I watch it. We'll talk about it. I really want to watch Nobody with you.
Okay.
But anyway, to the main course, if you will.
That was a good salad.
It was
a good appetizer.
Good. The crouton, the Daredevil croutons, and the Cobra Kai cucumbers. All right, I'm done with this analogy.
Foggy death cheese.
Foggy death cheese.
Wow. You couldn't even say that one. You just breathed it.
I don't know why that just
I mean, to be fair, it kind of sounds like some kind
of it sounds almost real.
Yeah. it sounds like
it's the foggy death cheese. Yeah. It's over there by the cheddar and provolone. Foggy death. It's right there.
It sounds like the name of a burrito at Moe's or something.
Well, and it reminds me, I know this is going to totally ruin your good mood, but it reminds me of a TikTok I watched of this dude who's like POV, you're talking to a hot sauce enthusiast, and he's like talking about all these different bottles of hot sauce on his counter. And I mean, obviously it's all it's fake. He's playing it. He's being way exaggerated, but like one of them was called like Devil's Flatulence, and he said he got it from the gift shop at Chernobyl. So like
That's pretty
foggy
good.
death cheese just sounds like a really hot cheese that someone like a hot sauce enthusiast would get. Like, oh no, that's not pepper jack. That's foggy death cheese. Like that'll kill you. That stuff will kill you. But it just, anyway, it's really funny. But yeah, on to the main topic. Which many of you by now probably already know, but I specifically reached out to Daniel here to make sure he didn't know as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Still didn't really work out.
There's only one guy that got spoiled.
Yeah, but that was one of the bigger ones. And I think you misunderstood what I was saying in that text. It's not that it's not that the discussion is like who he would be. It was just crazy that he's in it.
That's fair. Let's explain what happened.
Yeah.
So you called me when Avengers started announcing the cast
for
and you
Doomsday.
were like, stay off of social media because I want to give you these revelations live on the podcast to get your reaction.
Yep.
And then I went to a coffee shop. I was like, cool, no problem. And then I went to a coffee shop to write, and there was a person next to me who was geeking out over it with their friend. And they started talking like, dude, did you see the new thing update? So I'm like scrambling to get my headphones because I don't want to hear it. And like right as I'm putting white noise on just so I can tune it out. And right before I get my headphones on, I hear Robert Downey Jr. and Channing Tatum.
Yeah.
So Channing Tatum was one of the ones that you were like wanting to get my reaction from.
It was one of the ones that it shocked me. So, and I'll explain the whole thing behind that, but like it shocked me. So I was like, oh man, Daniel's gonna freak. This is gonna be a big one. Like, cause
but I didn't really have that big of a reaction to it.
Well, yeah, because I mean, how you heard it, you can't go, what?
That's fair. But I didn't do that then.
I'm actually just sitting here picturing these two random guys in a coffee shop and they just see you at the table, like scrambling to put headphones on.
I should have gone, hey, shut up!
You shut up right now. There are other people in this establishment. Some of us have podcasts to do this week.
Yeah, I should have done that.
That would have been funny. You would never be allowed back in there.
I know, it would be hilarious. Be on my permanent record.
Record.
I don't know why I said it like that.
Are you part frog? Record.
Foggy death frog.
Oh no. But yeah, so that again, we'll get into it, but that kind of bummed me out. There's plenty others.
So do you think he's going to be the same character from Deadpool and Wolverine?
Oh, yeah. He'll be Gambit. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Obviously, we're talking about the casting now.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the event, aka like how they did it, but I also want to tell you the casting. We'll get to the other ones, but since we're on this topic, let's go ahead and talk about it.
Okay.
This movie is called Avengers Doomsday.
Yeah.
Who are the Avengers right now?
Well, there aren't really any.
Exactly.
Yeah.
My thought... Go ahead.
Except for the fact that Sam Wilson said he's going to start the Avengers again.
Okay.
So he might be the only Avenger.
If you want to count him, you could say there's one. He's kind of got Falcon... And we don't know. He was tasked in the new Captain America with forming the new team. So we don't have an Avengers yet. And we're getting an Avengers movie. So it's like, okay, either we're going to see him piece it together in pieces throughout the next couple solo films or like post-credit scenes, or we're going to see him put it together in the movie, kind of like the first Avengers movie where they all kind of like go out and get each other and then come back and do the big fight.
That's kind of what I was assuming.
That's kind of what I was thinking too. Well, it could be one of the two, but it could be a little both. I don't know. But I was thinking, okay, we're going to see them kind of piece it together. Well, what I did not expect was to hear an X-Men character that wasn't even in any of the X-Men movies, who was just in Deadpool and Wolverine from an alternate universe in the Void, is going to be in the new Avengers movie. That's why that was so huge.
Yeah.
And I'm about to explain to you why it's even huger.
Okay.
Because that's a word now.
Yeah, it is. Just like Foggy Death cheese.
All right.
I ran that into the ground. And that cheese is moldy now.
That cheese is so moldy. So obviously, I'll also...
No, I'm just kidding.
Obviously, you already also saw, which, I mean, you knew, Robert Downey Jr.,
yeah.
we assume is returning as just Doctor Doom in this movie.
Right.
Which it was also cool how they did his, because... So, did I explain to you kind of how they did the unveiling?
Yeah, they just kind of showed chairs, the actors'
Right.
chairs.
The stream went on for 5.5 hours. Like,
crazy.
They would put a chair out, and then like every 15 or 20 minutes, they would move the camera back and put another chair out.
Dang.
And this went on and on, and then at the very end, when they pulled back for the last chair, Robert Downey Jr. was sitting in it. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
It was cool that he was the only one there, and he kind of like looks at all the chairs and smirks and goes, you know, like, shh. Like, it was cool. Cute little tongue-in-cheek moment, whatever. Funny. So he's in it. Chris Hemsworth is back as Thor. Tom Hiddleston is in the movie as Loki somehow.
From the Loki show, I guess.
I guess, but I don't know how he gets out of, like, holding all the timelines together, unless they just completely break now that maybe Doom breaks them.
Maybe Doctor Strange in No Way Home did something to mess that up.
Or that. Could be. Paul Rudd's Ant-Man. So you can safely assume he'll be an Avenger. Shang-Chi is going to be in it.
Not a shocker.
And then I'm going to say their names just for their credit, but because I'm not even as familiar with all of them, I'll just go ahead and tell you the new Fantastic Four group.
Mm-hmm.
So Pedro Pascal, Vanessa Kirby, Joseph Quinn, and Eben Moss Bachrach. I'm sorry, I completely butchered that. I'm sure there's going to be others on here that I butcher. But them, Louis Pullman.
Mm-hmm. I don't know who that is. Is he related to Bill Pullman?
Don't know, but he is in Thunderbolts as the Sentry.
Okay.
The villain.
Okay.
Ian McKellen.
Magneto!
Yeah.
Oh, oh, that is so freaking sweet.
Sebastian Stan's Bucky.
Okay.
Go ahead.
That one was way more shocking than Channing Tatum.
Well, and that one was revealed before Channing Tatum. And you'll start to see why I'm like, holy, like the Channing Tatum thing is big. It's big.
Okay.
Kelsey Grammer, who played Beast in the original X-Men trilogy.
Oh, yeah. Dude, I did not know that was Kelsey Grammer. Now I can obviously picture it. That's the same dude who was in Frasier. And Jesus Revolution.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
James Marsden returns as Cyclops from the original X-Men trilogy.
Gosh, it's so cool.
Channing Tatum, we've discussed. Rebecca Romijn? I don't know. I'm sorry, I'm butchering that one too. The original Mystique.
Oh, okay.
Patrick Stewart's Professor Xavier returns from the original X-Men movies.
Okay.
Alan Cumming returns as Nightcrawler.
All right.
Letitia Wright, who is Shuri in the Black Panther movies, his sister.
Okay.
She returns as the Black Pantheress, I guess.
Did you see Wakanda Forever?
Mm-hmm.
So does she basically take over the mantle?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't think that's going to be permanent because spoilers for that movie. If you haven't seen it, it's pretty old. I would assume you've probably seen it if you're watching something like this. But for you two, if you care, I won't say it. But
no, I don't care. Go ahead.
It's revealed he had a son before he died.
Oh,
with the girl that is like his love interest in the first movie and stuff. She kind of goes away. It's because she was pregnant.
Oh,
so she had his son, and so I think he's going to be the next. Like they're gonna fast forward time in the universe, and he'll be grown up, and he'll be the new Black Panther.
Okay, gotcha.
Tenoch Huerta as Namor returns. He was also in Wakanda Forever.
Okay. Danny
Danny Ramirez, Falcon, the new Falcon. He'll be in there.
Boo.
Well, continue that energy. Anthony Mackie. No, I like Anthony Mackie. And I like the Ramirez guy. I think they tried too hard in Cap 4 to make him like the funny guy.
Yeah.
And I was just like, All right. Florence Pugh returns as Yelena, the like Black Widow's like sister or whatever. Wyatt Russell returns as the like bad Cap from Falcon and Winter Soldier, and also now Thunderbolts. David Harbour, who I forget if he's like technically like Captain Russia, but that's kind of what he is in the Black Widow movie, and now Thunderbolts. Hannah John Kamen, who plays Ghost in Ant-Man and the Wasp and also in Thunderbolts, and Winston Duke, who plays M'Baku in Black Panther, the real big guy. All of those names confirmed. Avengers Doomsday, they will be there.
That was the entire cast that was revealed?
That was all that was revealed. Now, I have more news.
Oh, boy. To be honest, the way that you set that up, it was a little underwhelming, with the exception of Ian McKellen.
See, to me, that's wild, because the implications here, there are as many X-Men as there are Avengers in this movie.
That's true.
To me, that is a huge deal. Like, that really implies something way bigger than just the Avengers forming is happening in this movie. Like, this is going to this might end up being just Secret Wars Part 1. Like, the way this is shaping up, and again, I have more news. Like, this isn't done.
Okay.
But the way this is shaping up with that, I mean, that's massive to me. A lot of people think they're going to flip it, like pull the rug out from under us and switch the title, and it's going to be Avengers versus X-Men, and we're going to get that before, like, leading into Secret Wars. Kind of like how Civil War, that like clashing of heroes kind of messed everything up and paved the road for Infinity War to happen. They think a similar thing is going to happen that's going to kind of allow Secret Wars to break out.
Okay.
That's a rumor. That's not even close to confirmed. But with as many X-Meners in this, I could see it. And like I said, we're not done. Get to that in a second. The bottom of this, there are some reported names. These were not confirmed. These were not in the casting. But some notable missing.
Wait a second. I just realized Tom Holland wasn't in that list.
Tom Holland's missing, so he's reported.
He better be.
Benedict Cumberbatch, as big of a deal as they're saying the next Doctor Strange is going to be to the Secret Wars thing.
Yeah. He's
not in here. Chris Evans.
Yeah.
Which kind of makes sense, but kind of doesn't, because he's definitely coming back. And Haley Atwell, which was, I don't know why that one's reported, but plays the love interest in the first Captain America movie, and then later she's Captain Britain in Doctor Strange 2 in the on the Illuminati panel. I don't know why she's reported. I mean, I guess she could pop up again as Captain Britain, but anyway. So some notable missing names there, mainly being Tom Holland and Benedict. Like, I could understand Chris Evans not being in it and Haley Atwell, but Benedict Cumberbatch and Tom Holland will be in these movies.
They have to be.
There's absolutely no way. Now, I have heard, supposedly, Spider-Man 4 will be taking place at the exact same time as Avengers Doomsday, which could explain why he might not be in it, like, in the universe. Like, they're kind of happening. It kind of like how Ant-Man wasn't in Infinity War, but then when you go watch Ant-Man and the Wasp, all that stuff, like, he was on house arrest, and then right at the end of the movie, when he was kind of out of that, he got stuck in the quantum realm right as everything happened, the snap happened and all that.
Yeah.
That kind of explains that.
Do you know what my only beef with No Way Home is?
What's that?
That Ant-Man should have been the one, instead of Doctor Strange, to screw everything up and help. Like, the more I think about it...
Ant-Man?
Yeah, with the quantum realm and stuff. Because the more I think about it, Doctor Strange is way too competent to just be like, oh, you just want me to just make everyone forget that this ever happened? Oh, okay, I'll do that. And then, like, as he's talking to him, he's like, okay, I guess I'll just change this and change this. It didn't really fit his character, I don't think. That's a really small nitpick, because that movie's great. I'm not trying to poop all over No Way Home.
No, I mean, don't get me wrong.
Ant-Man, his character, his goofiness, he seems like someone who would be more likely to do something like that.
I'll put it like this. I agree in the sense that I've always thought the way they got to where they got in that movie was far-fetched. If you were going to have Doctor Strange mess up a spell, you could have just as easily just had Peter say it the right way the first time and Doctor Strange just do it and not realize that him doing that would break the multiverse and like have all like you could have just had that happen.
Yeah.
That could have just been the thing. We didn't need him to do it 5 different times, and like you said, like it just kind of felt jokey at that point. And it's like, I mean, it's magic. Why can't you just stop and restart? In most things, when you start a spell and you don't do it the right way, the spell just craps out. Why does this one work, even though you changed it 17 times, but it breaks the whole multiverse? So I agree with you on that. That being said, it
would have been funnier with Ant-Man.
It would have been funnier, and it might. And to your credit, it would probably make more sense as far as him screwing up.
Yeah. Could you? But I mean, can you just picture the dynamic between Tom Holland and Ant-Man?
Oh, dude, yeah. I'm sure that would be hilarious.
It would be great. It would have been. It would have been gold. Not like that's a small nitpick.
Yeah,
I love that movie. I'm not trying to poop on it. I don't even have to poop.
My thing with this casting is something is going on that I didn't expect. And I don't know what I expected, but it was not to see Ian McKellen and Channing Tatum and Patrick Stewart and Alan Cumming and, Kelsey Grammer. I did not expect to see all the OG X-Men pop up in this movie.
Yeah.
I just absolutely did not.
Plus Channing Tatum.
Right.
What wasn't he's Gambit? Mm-hmm. Didn't they have a different Gambit in the original X-Men?
It wasn't in the only time Gambit ever showed up in the X-Men movies was in Wolverine Origins. Or X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Okay.
And it was a different character.
So I guess Channing Tatum's they're just bringing a Gambit from a different universe.
Basically. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Which that Wolverine movie was in a different universe than the MCU, so it still works, but
oh, it was?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even know that.
Well, they count it as a different universe because, that was all the Fox movies. So to explain in story why they never crisscross paths, well, in the real world it's because they couldn't. In story it's because it's a different universe. That's why Deadpool has to come to the MCU in Deadpool and Wolverine because he's not in the 616 universe. Anyway, that was wild enough as it is. Then we get this little exchange on Twitter.
Oh boy.
Robert Downey Jr. tweeted out, "That's what you call a deep bench of talent. Actually, it's more like a row, but an extra long one. That must be it, ... right?" Marvel Studios tweets at him, "There's always room for more." Basically confirming, there was already rumor, but basically confirming there's going to be another announcement. We don't know when yet. I don't know what changed. The original news that broke was that they were going to be announcing over 50 actors. But I don't know if it's because of how they chose to do it or if it was always the plan to break it up in 2 parts. I don't know. They only did about half of them. So there is another 20 plus actors that are going to be listed sometime in the near future. Don't know when. I will definitely be looking out for it. But you could pretty much guarantee you're going to see names like Benedict Cumberbatch, Tom Holland, and then probably some other wild ones. Now, here's the other thing that made me freak out about this. You got to read between the lines here. Marvel plays everything super close to the chest. They try everything they can to avoid leaks and spoilers and all this stuff. If they're telling us all these names, who are they not telling us? Because you brought up when I was talking to you that you would want to see Tom Cruise listed on here to be the ultimate Iron Man, superior Iron Man, whatever it's called. I think it's Superior Iron Man. They're not going to... If they put Tom Cruise on here, everyone knows that that's coming.
Yeah.
that makes me, if anything, this makes him not being on here makes me even more certain that like we could see that in Secret Wars. Like,
well, the combination of him not being on there and the people they chose,
like who they did reveal, like Ian McKellen's Magneto. Are you kidding me? Like no one was talking about him showing up on this.
Yeah.
Channing Tatum being in the next Avengers movie. Like no one was talking about that. Who else don't you see on here? How about Ryan Reynolds?
Yeah.
How about Hugh Jackman? How about Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield?
Yeah.
How about other names that we know are going to be popping up?
Yeah.
Like, I won't be surprised.
Tom Hardy?
Oh, yeah. I didn't even think about that. I don't know. If we see him, I'll be shocked.
What's his name? Woody Harrelson?
I'll be shocked if they bring in the Sonyverse into this.
That would be crazy.
It would probably be the first time they're good.
You don't like the Venom movies?
I like the first one.
I didn't see the second or third.
Don't.
Okay.
Well, I didn't watch the third, but the second one.
They brought Tom Hardy into the Spider
for like a minute. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
to show
did
that
nothing.
Venom. Yeah, but I always thought they were hinting that he's going to be coming back.
I hope. I really hope.
Tom Hardy's a great actor.
I like Tom Hardy, and I even like his Venom portrayal. I just don't love those movies. I like the first one enough.
Either.
Like it was like, okay, they did him enough justice in this. Like they played it kind of safe, but like, okay, we'll see where it goes. And then they hinted at Carnage coming, so I was like, all right, I'm locked in for number 2. Get to number 2, and I was already thrown off when they announced it wasn't going to be an R-rated movie. I'm sorry. You lost me already. You cannot do Carnage accurately and it be a PG-13 movie. You just can't.
I don't know anything about Carnage.
Carnage is first of all, he is a complete psychopath, both the symbiote and his host. His host is a serial killer named Cletus Cassidy, who is just like, he's like the Joker. Like he just kills for fun. He just enjoys killing and hurting people. He's just crazy. And he gets melded with a symbiote that's equally as like bloodthirsty, which is why it's named Carnage. And they are so like in sync that they reach 100% symbiosis or whatever it's called. Like they completely mesh, and like they are insane. Like even Venom, that's why like in the movie, like it was a villain in the Venom movie, because even though it's a symbiote, they like Venom, it's too much for even Venom. Like he's just crazy for no reason. He's just a psycho. And I was like, if you've ever read any Carnage comic, which like I've only read a couple, but like they're brutal. And I was like, you cannot portray Carnage accurately in a PG-13 movie. You just can't. You're either going to be coming off as kind of cringy by like towing the line too much but trying to keep it PG-13, or you're just going to go way too soft, and neither one is accurate. The character's really cool, but he should be scary and like intimidating. I mean, he's really, really violent at like any cost. He would like destroy himself to hurt someone. Like that's how crazy he is.
Yeah, I mean the fact that the new Daredevil is like, oh, that's another thing I don't like. I don't think they've done this quite yet in the first 3 episodes, but the language just really amped up. Like,
yeah, I mean,
and it wasn't like that in the Netflix show.
I don't know. I guess it hadn't been that bad yet. Not that I can think of.
It really amps up, and like especially the last 2 episodes, to the point where I was like, why did they even put that? Like there was one scene in particular, I was like, that was filthy. It wasn't even good. So I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that, but
a little bit of a rabbit trail. So
he's another one you don't see in the casting.
Oh yeah,
Charlie Cox.
See, what the heck, man?
Yeah, they're gonna have more.
They're gonna have more. They definitely are, but
you don't see Brie Larson, Miss Captain Marvel.
Happy with that. Let's just pretend she doesn't exist.
That ain't gonna happen. I mean, especially with how her second movie ended, which I know you probably didn't see.
Oh yeah, I didn't even know there was a second movie.
Yeah, the Marvels.
That was her. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was the combination of her meeting Miss Marvel, and then both of them also meeting Photon from the WandaVision show.
Oh, okay.
And they all like team up. Well, they kind of involuntarily team up because this thing happens, this like cosmic thing, and their powers are all kind of connected. So when they start using them, they switch places.
Oh, that's interesting.
And it made for some really cool fight scenes once they kind of got it like down pat. But anyway, spoilers for that movie too, I guess. But it ends with they have to like it's like a black hole or something. Like a huge rift is opening in space. Kind of similar. Again, like there's been all this stuff leading up to the multiverse thing. And this was one of them. It ends with this like big rift opening in space, and Photon is the one who's like, I can close it. So she goes out there with the intent of like weaving it up with her power, and then at the last second they're supposed to like pull her back or like get her back. Well, she closes it, but she has to do it from the other side. So she gets stuck in it, and they can't get her, and then you think she's just gone. The movie ends. Well, then there's 2 post-credit scenes, and they're both probably some of my favorite ones in recent memory. Like, they're really good. One of them is Miss Marvel going and, like, she basically does a new version of the Nick Fury, the famous Nick Fury post-credit scene in Iron Man 1, where he, like, Tony Stark walks into his house, and he's kind of, like silhouetted, and he starts talking to him about the Avengers initiative or whatever. She goes and finds Kate Bishop from the Hawkeye show to start the Young Avengers. And then the other post-credit scene is Photon waking up in like a hospital bed. She's been like out. And you hear a voice talking, and it's Kelsey Grammer, and she looks up, and Beast is standing there with her.
Wow.
Talking about, should we go get the professor? So she's clearly in the X-Men facility in some alternate universe, which is probably where these X-Men are about to come in at. And a woman stands up in the corner, and it's her mom, who was in the first Captain Marvel movie. It's Photon's mom, but she's wearing she's like a superhero in this universe. She's, I guess she's the Captain Marvel there, or the Photon or something. So, wow. Yeah, it was pretty cool. I enjoyed those a lot. And the movie actually was pretty cool too. It was pretty funny. I enjoyed it. But yeah, so there's a lot of names you don't see that like, it's like,
when are they supposed to drop the next batch or whatever?
I have no idea. Like, I think it'll probably be hinted at like. Ooh, hopefully, I don't know if y'all could hear that. Sorry, I bumped the mic.
Well, now they know about it, Chris.
Sorry. That was like hinted at like the day before. Like on Twitter, it just started going around that like, hey, tomorrow Marvel's dropping like some massive news. Don't know where that started. Don't know where it came from. All I know is I just saw accounts tweeting it. And then the next day, that reveal happened. So I'm assuming they'll probably be similar. Like they'll spark it up the day before. Hey, we got some news coming out, whatever. I can't imagine. Well, I don't know, because now the radar's out. Like, now the antennas are up, and people are probably waiting for it. So maybe next time they'll just start the stream and just let word of mouth carry it.
Yeah.
Which actually brings me to more of, like, the discussion I wanted to have about this.
Okay.
So, what are your thoughts on, before I even feed you any of, like, where I'm coming from with this, I want to hear just, you didn't watch the stream.
No.
But I told you about it.
No, I'm a grown man.
All right. But I told you what they did and how long it lasted. What are your thoughts on them doing that?
I think it's a genius move. I mean, it's the way they're doing it is really, they're just kind of dropping these little hints. They're building up. When is Doomsday supposed to come out?
I think next year.
Yeah. Like summer next year?
I believe so.
Yeah, so we got a year and a half until it even comes out. So I think they're doing a really good job building the hype up for it. The only thing is they're building up a lot of hype. So if they don't deliver, this could wreck. I mean, if they do anything like what they did with Brave New World, where they just showed the Hulk, the Red Hulk and everything, and then that's the big surprise in the movie. If they do anything similar to that, in Secret Wars, where the big surprise is Ian McKellen,
yeah,
like then what you've said in previous episodes will come to pass. This will be the end of the MCU, at least for a really long time.
Yeah. Well,
so that's the only thing is I think they're building up hype really well, but they're also setting some really high expectations.
Yeah.
It's like what they showed us better not be the big surprise. Like there better be some seriously amazing stuff in this new movie, which I think we'll get the biggest hint about that in the new Fantastic Four movie.
Oh, I think that one's going to be super important. I think Thunderbolts is going to be more important. I mean, they're all in this movie.
That's true.
They've all been in the official casting, so it's like, oh, okay. I didn't expect that either.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think where to start with this.
Is that kind of what you were looking for? My answer?
Yeah. I wanted to just, before I say anything, because I feel like this is going to spark discussion. It might not. We might just have a very early ending today. But I feel like this is going to spark discussion. First of all, I'll say this in response to what you said. I will give the Russo brothers this. Their worst movie, in my opinion, is Endgame.
Really?
And I think Endgame is pretty darn good, all things considered. I mean, it's you know, and I know, like we've talked about it. I don't think it's the best ending that the Infinity Saga could have had. I think they did a couple things that I was like, wish they would have done that differently. But the ending was earned, and there were so many little tiny love letter. For some reason, my mind always goes to the moment where they're passing the gauntlet back and forth, and Black Panther lands in front of Hawkeye and says, "Give it to me, Clint," and calls him by name. Because if you, like, that's such a throwaway line if you don't know that in Civil War they were fighting each other on the tarmac, and Hawkeye tries to stop the fight and say, "I'm Clint, by the way," and he says, I don't care," and he keeps fighting him.
I forgot about that.
It's such a throwaway line if you don't realize he's calling him by name to let him know, like, hey, man, we're on the same side.
Yeah.
I remember you. I remember your name. Give it to me. I got you. I got your back. Such a small moment. And there's so many of those littered throughout Endgame. They did such, you could tell, regardless of how I feel about it as a whole, you could tell that was a love letter to the past decade and all the moments that led up to that. Spider-Man using insta-kill mode. Like, that comes out of left field if you haven't watched Homecoming and remember the funny moment of like, do you want me to activate insta-kill? He's like, no. Like,
that's right.
I mean, like, you just think, oh yeah, his suit has insta-kill. Okay, but like, it's a reference. Clint is a reference. Like, and there's all these little things like that. That being said, I think because of that, I love Civil War. I really love Winter Soldier, and I really loved Infinity War.
Mm-hmm.
Endgame, I really loved moments of Endgame. That whole last, like, 30, 40-minute chunk, the big fight and all that, so earned.
Mm-hmm.
It was so earned. I don't think the Russo brothers are going to let this fail. They always said if they ever came back to Marvel, it would be to do one thing, and that would be Secret Wars. This is a huge deal to them. And I think their goal is to put the MCU back up on like the pedestal in the public eye that it was at its peak, 5 or 6 years ago. That whole, like the back end of the Infinity Saga, where like every movie you just knew it was going to be $1 billion box office weekend, and you had to get tickets the moment they drop, or you weren't seeing it. You just weren't seeing it until like a week later.
Yeah.
I think their goal is to really get these films back up to that level. And a lot of people don't like that they made the move of bringing RDJ back as Doctor Doom. I'm reserving judgment until I see it. I think he's a talented enough actor to portray Doom very well, very respectfully. And I think they can make it make sense narratively. I trust that they wouldn't have made this decision without talking it through in the writing room of like, how can we make this work? So, I believe they can make it make sense. I believe he can portray him. And I think he will be an intimidating villain. And I think it's going to hit a lot harder for people than people think, Because right now everyone's just like, oh, you got Robert Downey. That's so stupid. Like, you're just trying to, bring back, like, you're making us reminisce because he was like, yeah, but like, think about that. He started the MCU, and now he's playing a character who's really essentially in the narrative and in the real world come to end it, because this is supposed to start a reboot, like a whole new, like, no more old MCU. Like, there's a whole new thing now. He's literally come to end the MCU. He started it and he's ending. That's kind of poetic.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to hit really hard if done well. And I think he and they can do it well. I say all that in response to, I agree with you. They're setting up a lot of hype. If they don't deliver, I think this will ruin the MCU for a long time. Mm-hmm. But I do think they'll deliver. I do believe that. I wouldn't be this excited about a casting announcement if I didn't believe that. Now, I'll move on to what I was more kind of getting at with this. Like I said, before I fed you any kind of thoughts on this, I wanted to hear what you thought. But you say that this was genius. It built up hype, and it did what it was supposed to do. That was your thoughts. So the day it happened, I was at work, and I just happened real quick on a break to scroll through Twitter, and I saw that this. I was like, what is this? What's going on? Quickly realized there was like a huge, massive thing going on. My whole timeline was nothing but casting chair announcements. Everyone was talking about it. By the end of the whole thing, the stream had like over 225 million views. And it only lasted for 5 hours. Can you imagine something getting released on like YouTube and getting over 200 million views in 5 hours? That's insane. There are videos that don't get 200 million views in 5 years. Like,
that's true.
That's insane. So, I'm sitting here thinking like, oh man, like, we're back, baby. Like, the hype train is rolling. Like, we're full speed ahead. Got Fantastic Four coming out in a few months. Here we go. Secret Wars time, Doomsday time. Well, then I start seeing like a lot of pushback, and like a lot of people like pissed about this. And ironically, it was people like, I was like, oh, you must be like a Marvel hater or whatever. But like, I'm like looking, and I start seeing like multiple tweets from certain accounts that are like, they're following it. They're following the stream because they're commenting on like stuff on their feed, but they're kind of like trashing it. I was like, that's really weird. And I could give multiple examples, but I think the best one I can give was I saw one account tweet this out, and I just thought it was profound enough to stick with me to make me want to bring this up today. And I have two sides to this. So it starts with, this account said, Marvel, I've really lost a lot of respect for Marvel today because they have an awesome privilege and in a sense responsibility that they have this massive, massive fan base. And he said, you've got this rabid fan base that will watch paint dry for you. And part of your responsibility in this privilege is that when you have fans that are so enthralled by your content that they would watch paint dry for you, is that you don't ask them to watch the paint dry. And his point in that was, you've got these people who are so fanatical about everything you put out that they will sit for 5.5 hours and watch you set up acting chairs for an announcement. An announcement that, by the way, after they did everything, they put out like a 1.5 minute long video of them just going down the line of chairs and showing all the names, and then had Robert Downey sitting at the end and put that out, proving that like you could have just done that. Like, you could see every name. Like, I mean, you wouldn't have missed anything other than the fact that a live stream went on for 5.5 hours where they slowly sat out one chair at a time. His point was like, there was a much quicker, more time efficient way to do this announcement, and you had people sit for 5.5 hours and watch you put chairs out. And that just, to him, apparently felt very disrespectful to their fans, like from them as a company. So before I say anything else, I want your thoughts on that.
I don't agree with that. I mean, I don't think they're asking you to. You don't have to watch the whole thing. It's just they're just trying to build hype. They're trying to just slowly give you a little bit. I think they're teasing you. They're playing cat and mouse.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it felt like to me. It's not like if you're literally gonna sit there for 5 hours and watch them put chairs out. That's a you problem. I mean, I don't think they were. I mean, I don't know, but maybe they were expecting people that. But when you told me it's going on for 5 hours, I thought, wow, that's kind of cool. They're really trying to just like draw this out and pull you in and like. And I'm thinking, I can't wait till it's finished because I'm going to go back and look at all of it and stuff. Yeah, I think that's silly. I don't know.
So I 100% agree with you. My first thought when I read that was, or like my first reaction was anger. I was like, why are you trying to crap over something that everyone's so excited about today?
Yeah.
Like, why do you have to find something negative in this? This was just what they chose to do. And there were many people on Twitter saying, I don't know whoever in marketing greenlit this idea, but they need to be fired. Like, there were a ton of people saying that. And I was kind of starting to believe it and like agree with it. I was like, yeah, I mean, I guess there was a better way to do it or whatever. But like, the funny thing is, I mean, I didn't sit for 5 hours and watch this, but I kept going back and like refreshing the thing to see who got revealed now, who's next. But it took something I was excited about and like made me be like, man, maybe there was a better way to do that.
There's a lot of that going around these days.
Then I saw this, and it really changed my perspective. This one I can actually give credit to because I have the screenshot. So sorry to whoever was crapping on it and I didn't screenshot it. But this account's name is Jeff D. Lowe. And he said, I understand fans hating the slow reveal. But this is such good marketing and promotion from Marvel. Every 12 minutes for the next 5+ hours, all of those movie and click accounts will tweet something like this because he reposted a Screen Rant tweet of Paul Rudd being revealed.
Yeah.
That's way more impactful for them than one quick video.
Yeah, 100% agree.
As soon as I saw that, I was like, okay, I feel justified in enjoying it now.
Yeah, I mean, they're not asking you to watch. It's like what he said. It's like they're revealing a little at a time. They're trying to keep it in the news cycle. And they're getting you excited. And it's like you said, you didn't watch the whole thing. You just kept refreshing. You're like, oh, yeah now I can go back. And it gives you, it's like, man, for 5 hours.
I get a little something.
Exactly. I can just keep going back. And I think people, here's why, especially on Twitter, here's where I think that's coming from. I think people are, for the most part, fed up with Marvel for some of the stuff that I even mentioned that they like did in like the Daredevil Born Again stuff where they're trying to push cultural narratives. And I understand, I'm frustrated with that too. And so they are looking for reasons to root against Marvel, and they want Marvel to fail for those reasons. And I don't necessarily blame them because I'm kind of sick of all that stuff too. But there has to be like I don't know. I don't think it serves anyone to just create problems where there aren't problems, because then you end up doing the thing that you say that you're against, which is like part of the problems that I have with what Disney does in a lot of their stuff in modern times is they make big issues that aren't even really issues in the culture, but they highlight them as this big problem that's this huge thing in the culture that everyone should be mad about, and they get people to be at each other's throats. Now you're doing that. Just like you said, you were excited about it.
Yeah.
So you're doing the same exact thing that they're doing. And it's like, first off, it's like, even though I'm frustrated with the Daredevil Born Again, it's like, it's Disney and they've been doing that. So if I really don't want it, then I just shouldn't watch the show. That's what it comes down to. And I do get frustrated with it, but I mean, I'm like, I'm not going to sit here and I don't know. I think, especially on Twitter, like everyone's looking for the boogeyman. There's a boogeyman everywhere now, and everything's bad and everything's wrong, and it's like I just don't like that. I'm gonna go on a rant if I keep talking, so I'm gonna stop now. But you get the picture.
Yeah, I do. I guess that was my thing is like, and I hate that I even felt that way. That I felt like I needed justification for enjoying it. But after seeing so many negative things about it, I was like, dang, was that a waste of time? Like, Could that have been done better? Would it have been as big a deal if they just put the video out? And I still think it would have made some waves. But like after seeing that, I really agree with what that guy said. Like I think it was a very time-consuming thing, but like it really, like you said, built up the anticipation. Not only for like who's the next name going to be, but the movie. Like the bottom line is, if we're going to be real with ourselves, and this goes for Marvel too, like as a company, whoever, the higher ups there, whatever, if we're going to be real, people aren't quite as excited right now for MCU films as they were a decade ago.
Right.
And it's not because hero fatigue and all that bullcrap. It's because you haven't put out solid films. There's no really solid through line right now between the movies of this connects to this, and then this popped up here, and that, like there was in the Phase 1, 2, and 3 movies that led up to Infinity War and Endgame. Infinity Game and End War. The bottom line is that was what made those so special. What made Iron Man 1 so special, it was a good movie, but what blew it up was the post-credit scene where you hear about other heroes. We had never seen that before in a comic book film.
Right.
We never, you watch Spider-Man 2 with Tobey Maguire and you hear Doctor Strange name dropped, but like you never expect to see him.
Yeah.
We never had stuff like that. I'm sorry, people can say what they want about No Way Home, just being what do they call it? Fan service, fanboy, like
should have been Ant-Man,
like cameo show or whatever. But guess what? Yeah, that's exactly why it was so popular. Because that's what people want to see. They want to see, when you talk about a connected universe, they want to see the other heroes pop up and have some consequence in these other films. And when you talk about a multiverse, we want to see that take effect too. Yeah. So yeah, when the other Spider-Man popped up, it was a big deal. Yeah, when you have Photon go to the X-Men of a whole other universe, that's a huge deal. Like these things matter. That's what people want to see leading into Secret Wars and Doomsday and all this stuff, which is why I love that they appear to be really leaning heavy into that with the new Fantastic Four film. It's in a completely different universe. Yeah. Somehow between that movie and Doomsday, they end up here. I'm very excited to see how that happens.
Me too.
I don't know if they tear a hole in the multiverse trying to escape Galactus or what. We know Galactus is in the film, so I don't know. I don't know if they're hiding from him or if they're trying to find something to defeat him or if it has nothing to do with him. Maybe Doom tears a hole and they're chasing him, and that's how Doom ends up here.
Yeah.
I'm ecstatic to see where that's going to lead.
Yeah.
That movie is going to be massive.
Yeah.
And it's because of the through line.
Yeah.
Which is what a lot of these have lacked. So the bottom line is, I think this, because of that and the lack of excitement and all that, I think this was a really brilliant way to kind of not only like prove to the people who have stuck with you that like it's going to be worth it, like we got something big coming, but to prove to all the people who are claiming Marvel's dead that like we just had a 5-hour video of chairs being placed and had 225 million people watch it.
Yeah.
Like, don't tell me that Marvel's dead.
Yeah, I know. And that's the other part about the people who are like fed up with like the cultural stuff too, is like if you just pretend like they don't have a ton of influence in the culture, that's how you lose the culture. You have to acknowledge why people love these films, why people are willing to sit and watch these chairs just get pulled out for their favorite films. This clearly means a lot to a lot of people.
Oh yeah.
And I'm not even trying to get on the like cultural side of it. I'm just saying, if you think there needs to be change, then you need to understand like how they are reaching people and not just blow it off as Marvel's dead because they keep doing. Marvel's not. Marvel has the comic books and the films have been a massive central part of American culture for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
And we need to acknowledge that. And like, I love Marvel. I love the comic films. I get frustrated with the cultural No, I said that right. I get frustrated with the cultural stuff too. But at the same time, it's like, it feels like a part of my home. It's like, it's super cool what they've done. Yeah. And I was actually thinking about this on the way here. It's like, I think sometimes in the like political cultural landscape, you have like you have one side that's super artsy fartsy and they're into comics and music and stuff like that. And then one side that just wants to live on a farm and have 20 children. And like, they're these super, it's like each side gets stereotyped as one or the other. And that's what causes this huge polarization, because the truth is people who have views on both sides of the political and cultural spectrum are a mixed bag of all those things. Like I'm pretty far on the right myself, but I have always loved California, the California dream, music, movies, acting. Like I resonate so much. I don't want to go live on a farm, and I love children and I want to have more kids, but it's like, I'm not into homesteading or anything like that.
Right.
If you want to go do that, that's great. And like, I grew up in the South. I love the South, but in the political cultural side, the South is sometimes a little overrated in my opinion. There's things that I love about it, but to be honest, California is way cooler. I mean, despite the different beliefs that I have about the way they run things, but like, you've been to California, right?
Never.
Oh, really? You've been to Vegas is what it was. Okay. California has the beach, the mountains, the redwoods. I mean, and there's so much opportunity. There's people out surfing. It's just such a cool place, you know? I mean, a lot of people who live there hate it because all the traffic and stuff, but I don't even know how I got here. This is what I mean by going on rants and tangents.
You're good.
But
you were talking about losing the culture if you start to just claim bluntly that Marvel's dead just because you don't like how they're trying to affect the culture.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And instead of understanding, it's like, what have they done to reach people in such a way? And like, that's why I was talking about California, is because it's like, even as someone who tends to agree with those people, like on the political and cultural side, it's like, I got to acknowledge the fact that their approach toward chasing your dreams, doing something really big, you know, these storytelling, that is so much more appealing to me. And it especially was as a young kid, but even now it's like, I see why people are drawn to that. And you gotta understand that if you want to influence people. And you gotta stop looking for a boogeyman everywhere.
Yeah, I agree with that.
You got to connect with people where you have things in common. I have people who I completely disagree with culturally and politically, and we could talk all day about comic book movies and music and stuff like that, you know?
Yeah, I'm the same way. And you know, I feel like there's just more and more people now who don't watch something for the wrong reason. You know, I'm not going to get too into it either. This doesn't need to turn into like a political thing, but the bottom line is, to me, I'm one of those kind of people that can really separate the art from the artist. You know, if I think a movie or a show or something is bad, I'm not going to watch it because I think it's bad. I'm not going to not watch it just because I don't like something that this person said or did or something they represent or whatever. That's just me. I'm not saying this is exactly where your point of view or where you're coming from, but for me, and to your point from earlier, you know, I also don't like going into something and feeling like there's like real world issues and problems and agendas being thrown in my face. I want to turn my brain off and go have fun at a movie.
Yeah.
I don't want to be thinking about what stance politically that actor takes, and I don't want to be thinking about what agenda the writers might be pushing in their script. I want to go have fun and watch a movie. Like, I want to laugh. You know, I want to watch cool fight scenes and see cool powers being used, and I want to see characters just outwit themselves out of situations, like impossible situations that in the real world you could never really get out of. Like, I want to see that kind of stuff. I want to have fun. You know, I'm not there for a political rally.
Right.
You know, I spent my $1,000 on concessions to go watch a movie, not you know, all that other stuff. So I'm kind of with you on that. I'm probably even a little more loosey goosey with it than you might be just typically, but I don't
know. I mean, I've kind of loosened up a little bit more in recent years because I was, especially in 2020, I was pretty amped up, like with all the stuff going on. But lately I've been like, you know, here's the thing about it is, regardless of like, I'm not trying to get political on this podcast or get cultural.
Yeah,
I'm really trying
to
avoid that.
And I know it's a thin line, but
yeah. So I'm really trying to, I want to be clear. I'm not trying to make any kind of statement. I'm just saying, like, the reason that the one side of the political aisle has so much influence over the culture and stuff is because they reached people for a long time without pushing stuff, to be fair, with stories and the California dream is what I like to call it. It's like you go to there, you move to Hollywood, you go chase your dreams, you become, and I know they over romanticize it, but it's still that's appealing. It's like go find the thing that you're made to do and get really good at it, and then make it happen. I mean, and then versus the other side just kind of is like, we're not artsy fartsy. We're go get a real job, and and it's like, even though I tend to agree culturally and politically with that side, they don't. I feel like I'm going to get political now. I'm trying not to, but the point is that they were able to reach people with that aspect, and I got to give them credit. And so I'm not gonna not be entertained and enjoy things because one side doesn't want to acknowledge how powerful creative means are for reaching people. Right.
Yeah, no, I actually really agree with that. I mean, as someone who also, I was born and raised here in South Carolina, and yeah, there's a huge, I would say probably a majority of like the generation above me, at least, just like a lack of appreciation of what pop culture is and means to people. And I don't think that's any fault of theirs necessarily. I do think a lot of them are kind of forgetful of like the 80s that they grew up in and like what all the rock bands, all the millions of people that would flock to go. I mean, you see old videos of like, AC/DC and Kiss and, Guns N' Roses, like they'd be out in these massive like outdoor venues. Just, it looked like people for miles and miles. Like they, I don't know, but it's neither here nor there. Like you said, it's a whole other rant. But the point is, I agree with you. You can't just claim something's dead and then ignore its effect. Its real world impact, like just because it doesn't fit your narrative.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I'm with you on that.
And that's coming from someone who generally agrees
with.
I don't know the person you're quoting because I don't know what their stances are. But I'm just saying, generally speaking, the people who push that stuff, Marvel's dead, no one wants to see Marvel anymore, are the people who I actually agree with a lot of times culturally and politically. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, no, they're not dead. They're doing fantastic. Yeah. And they're really good at telling stories. And I enjoy these movies. Yeah. I get frustrated that they put some stuff in there that I don't want. But they're really good at it. Yeah. And you need to acknowledge that.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think that they've lost some of their potency, but they're still there.
Yeah.
Speaking of potency, though, and this is actually backtracking, but it's something I meant to talk to you about when we were talking about Daredevil.
Okay.
That scene in the diner with Fisk and Matt.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, two characters just sitting and having dialogue is always either one of the best scenes ever or one of the most boring things on the screen. And it takes, first of all, good writers, and second of all, two really good actors to just make a conversation that entertaining and chilling. Man, did they deliver. That scene is so good. It's so layered, like, because they're both talking about two sides of each other. They're both claiming to be like these upstanding people who have left like their more violent sides in the past, even though they're both kind of like right behind them. Like it's like you see it in the episode 2 when those cops are gonna kill Matt. Like, okay, it was self-defense. I'm not saying it wasn't justified, but what I'm saying is like he let him have it. Like, he didn't have to like go that ham on him. He beat the crap out of them.
It was pretty sweet.
Oh, it was awesome. Yeah. And then Fisk, I think in that same episode or in the one after it, when he's like eating the Philly cheesesteak thing and lifts the wrapper up to like show the chief of police or whatever that he had a picture of his wife and kid or whatever. I was like, dude, like, I don't know, man.
Well, I liked that, but like I said before, I'm tired of Fisk. Like
I'm not.
Daredevil. I don't like the way that actor, and I think he's a great actor. I've seen him in other things that I love him, but I just don't like the way he does Fisk. The voice, the mannerisms, it just. Claire said the other day that he looks like someone put the old filter on a baby. I don't quite agree with that. I mean, he kind of does with the bald. If you see him with hair in like the interviews, he looks like a totally different person.
Yeah, he does.
But anyways,
dude, by the way, I kind of know something else that I guess this isn't like a huge deal, but like I wish I didn't know it because it would have been really cool to just see it in the episodes. But like the fact that he's getting bigger, like in the show.
Oh, like Fisk?
Yeah. Like, I mean, I don't know how much, like Kingpin is huge.
Yeah.
Like in the comics, I'm not sure. Like he's kind of typically portrayed as like supernaturally durable and strong. Like it's hard to hurt him, and he's very, very strong. But he's always drawn just like really round and big. And he's an imposing figure in the Daredevil show. But like, I'd say the biggest I've seen him look was maybe like when he popped up in the Hawkeye show. But like I heard that like they're hinting at him getting bigger in this show, and like apparently there's like a scene that you're caught up, right?
Yeah.
Okay. It's a spoiler for me because I haven't seen it, so spoilers, I guess. But most people have probably already seen it. This show is like blowing up. Everyone's super excited about this show. I guess in like one of the newest 2 episodes that dropped, he's like putting on a suit, and he's like, "Oh, my suits aren't fitting like they weren't." And I was like, "Oh my god, he's gonna be huge! I can't wait for him to fight Spider-Man." And he's like throwing desks at Spider-Man, and Spider-Man's dodging them. Like it's like classic, man. It's just classic.
I mean, if they bring Spider-Man into this show, everything that I have said about it negatively will just disappear.
You see what I mean? You see what I mean? I'm being serious. That goes for everyone. Everyone, unless again you're just looking to be negative.
Yeah, exactly.
The through line is what people want.
Yeah.
They want to see these characters intervene sometimes with each other, because if not, why does it matter that you have a connected universe?
Right.
Why does it matter that the Daredevil show is no longer on Netflix? It's now on Disney Plus. If the only connecting thing you're going to have is the fact that they kind of mentioned someone in a spider suit once.
Yeah. Exactly.
Why does it matter?
It's the same reason everyone flipped when Matt Murdock showed up in No Way Home. It was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, if they bring, and then now after No Way Home that no one remembers Spider-Man, if they bring him into Daredevil Born Again, that will, I'm almost going to be mad if they don't do it now. I wish they wouldn't have. The fact that Fisk, I actually alluded to this before in when we were talking about it before.
Yeah, when you were like, they do something that like really shows you he's in the MCU now.
Yeah. Well, what I was saying was like they're doing things, they're dropping these little hints where like they might bring a character in.
I got you.
I'm like, at this point, if they don't bring Spider-Man in, I kind of wish he wouldn't have even mentioned the suit, because that's just kind of like them trying to be like, oh yeah, Spider-Man's here, by the way.
Well, but I think they did that for a few reasons. One, yes, they are just letting you know he's around, which is good, because a lot of people are still unsure, like to the level he even exists now that the spell happened and No Way Home happened and all that. So I think that was their way of being like, he is around, he's still Spider-Man, he's still fighting crime. It's just people don't remember Peter, first of all. Second of all, Spider-Man and...
Well, wait a second. Does that mean that people still remember Spider-Man?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wait.
They just don't remember that Peter Parker is Spider. Well, actually, that was the original spell. The one at the end was that nobody would remember Peter Parker. Like, he would just...
How does that work, though, if he was on... Because Spider-Man helped them defeat Thanos. Right. So will, like, Doctor Strange remember that Spider-Man helped them defeat Thanos?
Probably. We'll have to see how that... I'm sure they're going to have to write that into Doomsday or Secret War, whenever they both pop up.
I never thought about that.
At some point, Spider-Man's going to have to come across heroes that he's fought beside before, and they're gonna remember him. They won't remember who he is.
Yeah. Dude, they better bring Spider-Man into Daredevil. They just better do it.
I would love that. Not sure.
I just feel like they're not going to do it.
They might. I can't imagine that would have been kept under wraps. I swear, if they do that, that would be the best kept secret. Like
For sure.
They
kept the Chris Evans Human Torch secret in Deadpool and Wolverine. They kept.
That's true. That is true. And Blade.
Yeah.
And Elektra and Channing Tatum. I don't know how they managed to get all them in there and film without people seeing it. That's a good point.
They also kept the No Way. Well, no, I was gonna say the No Way Home. Different. They did, but
they kept it a secret. Okay, there's two things there. One, they kept it a secret for a long time because I think that stuff had been filmed a while before the movie came out, and I think they were really trying to keep it locked down.
Yeah,
it really got rampant as the movie was about to like start promoting and do its press run and all that. The other side of that being there's a lot of talk that because that movie was kind of in the midst of a lot of stinkers that Marvel leaked the behind the scenes stuff of them filming with Andrew to like spark up. Yeah. They're doing the Spider-Verse in this movie. And they released just enough where it would be like, we see him, but not enough to where it's like, for sure, this is from this new movie. Like, because when it first came out, that footage, it was from them talking on the scaffolding. But all you see is scaffolding and blue screen. You don't see like the Statue of Liberty, and you don't see anyone else. The first clip that really got everyone talking was him sitting on the scaffolding, and it's the scene where he's telling Toby, so you've got web blood or whatever he said.
So you make webs in your body.
In your body, that's what he said. And people thought he was saying web blood because they were reading it. You couldn't hear anything. Oh. You could just see his mouth moving. So everyone was, web blood, oh my God, he's talking to Toby. And that's what got the Toby thing in it. Like, they released just enough and people did just enough like digging into it to where it's like, this could either be a really old like clip that leaked out from like, and there were like accounts coming out saying, nah, this is from Amazing Spider-Man. It's just footage that was never used. And then there were people saying, no, this is new. And he's talking to Toby. Look at his mouth. He said, so anyway, I don't even know if that secret being leaked was like not intentional. Because I kind of think it was. You know how Deadpool got made, right?
Deadpool and Wolverine?
No. Deadpool. The original Deadpool.
No.
So, I don't know if you remember we were talking about Wolverine Origins earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Technically, Deadpool's first appearance on screen was in that movie. Ryan Reynolds played Wade Wilson in that film.
Oh, really?
However, they ruined him.
Oh, boy.
In the beginning of the movie, he's just a regular merc, and he's running with the group that like Wolverine and his brother Sabretooth and all of them are running with. And he's got his katanas, and he's like running his mouth a lot, just like how Deadpool would. But it's before like the cancer and all that, so he looked just like Ryan Reynolds, like normal. They did do this weird thing where like they burst into a room and this dude is like shooting an automatic gun at him, and he's like spinning his katanas at like super speed and like cutting bullets and deflecting them.
I don't even remember that.
Which everyone was like, Deadpool can't do that. What are you doing? Like, what is this? He would just let them hit him because he can heal. But they actually made fun of it in Deadpool 2. There's a scene where Cable's like shooting at him and he's like blocking them with his swords, and then he like cuts one in half, but then he still gets hit. Like, or no, that he's spinning his swords to block the bullets, and it shows it from behind, and bullets are just going like it's not doing anything. That's what it was. So anyway, they make fun of that little gag in Deadpool 2. But the point of this is how Deadpool was made, because at the end of that movie, at the end of Wolverine Origins, whatever, he comes back out. He goes missing for a lot of the movie. He's like one of the only team members they can't find when they're like going through the rest of the movie after the time jump. And come to find out, he's been like experimented on, and he's like, they've been taking genes from different mutants and like injecting them into him.
Did they take any genes from Jean?
No, she wasn't in this one.
Uh-huh.
Or wait, was she? I think maybe she was actually, but like briefly. I don't know.
Which weird. genes did they take from Jean? Was it her genes or like the genes?
It was jeans.
It was the jeans she was wearing, or was it jeans inside a jean? I'm sorry.
So, anyway, I'm going to ignore that. I don't know how to respond to it. He comes out, and first of all, they sewed his mouth shut, which people hated.
Really?
Because he can't talk. Like that's Deadpool's whole thing is he's like annoying. Like
Yeah.
he cracks jokes and he breaks the fourth wall.
I don't remember any of this.
Oh yeah,
I'm starting to wonder if I even saw the movie.
You might not have.
Was it the one where he had like bones at 1st?
Mm-hmm.
I thought I saw that. And,
But he also
Lynn
has
Collins is his wife or something.
That I don't know. Maybe he also has bone claws in Days of Future Past.
I'm definitely not thinking of that one.
Okay. Well, then yeah. It's the one where he has bone claw, then they inject the adamantium into him. He busts out of the like...
It like alludes back to the first X-Men when he was having flashbacks.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah. I think I saw that.
Yeah,
I don't
you've seen
remember
it.
anything about Ryan Reynolds in that movie.
Yeah, he's in it, and he comes back out at the end. He's completely bald. They like shaved his head. He's wearing no shirt, and he's got like these like black lines going all over his body. It's weird. They sewed his mouth shut so he can't talk, and instead of having his katanas, they grow out of his arms like Wolverine claws.
Oh, I do remember that.
Yeah. And people were like, what the heck is this?
Yeah.
Like, what is this garbage? So, anyway, that was technically Deadpool's first on-screen appearance. People hated that movie. Not even just for the Deadpool thing. Like, they just hated that movie, which I don't get. Because I don't hate it. It's not like the best thing ever, but I kind of enjoy it. Like, it's okay. They also hated it because they gave Wolverine CGI claws in that movie, and they just look atrocious, like, in hindsight, but besides the point. People trashed that movie. So they were like, yeah, we're never touching any of this again, other than Wolverine, because he's Wolverine. So they were supposed to give Ryan Reynolds, like, his own spinoff for a Deadpool movie. And it got trashed because people hated Origins so much. They were like, we're not going to mess with this. We're not going to put money into this.
Yeah.
Well, Ryan Reynolds loved Deadpool. Like, he was a huge fan of the comics and he loved the character. They're both from Canada. So, like, he just always felt like destined to play him. Plus, he, like, runs his mouth a lot, and that's, like, Ryan Reynolds' whole thing. So he had like been working really hard with a team of writers and stuff to like make this movie, and then it got completely trashed before it ever got given a chance. The only thing they ever got done was some like test footage, like not even test, concept footage, and it was all CG. None of it was live. It was completely a CG rendering of like a concept footage that was like a minute and a half long for what the movie would be like. And they showed it to the studio, and they're like, this is what we want to do. Still didn't take it. Ryan Reynolds got so upset. Well, this has never been confirmed, but it has been. He got so upset, he leaked it.
Oh, wow.
He put it online, and he couldn't promote it because then it would be obvious, and he could get in trouble. So he just let it sit. And I don't even remember how long it was online. Someone found it. And I think they went through like a bunch of people went through like some rigmarole to see like how true, like, is this real or is this like something really good that a fan made? Because it looked really good. They're like, a fan could do this if they had access to the right programs and stuff. But it was definitely Ryan Reynolds' voice doing the stuff in the thing. So it was like, gosh, turned out it was real. It got confirmed. Like, people confirmed it was real concept footage. It spread like wildfire. And then Fox was like, okay, we'll do the movie. And that scene from the concept footage is in the movie. It's a little different. They changed a couple lines, but like the scene is in the movie. So cool. After this, whenever we go upstairs to edit, I have to show it to you. It's like a minute and a half long, but
sure.
You'll laugh.
Nowadays with AI, people wouldn't know if it was the same.
You really would
probably just assume it was AI.
It looks more crisp than something current AI could do, but I don't think AI is far from being able to do what this one can do.
The most recent video models are like astounding.
Oh, well then maybe then.
It's wild, man.
I also don't know much about how to use AI, so
I use it all the time.
I know.
It's
you're way more involved with it than I want to learn how to use it because I think it'd be an interesting thing to like mess with, but
dude, whatever you think you can dream of, like dreams that you've wanted to do that you would need an entire crew for, you might be able to pull it off with AI.
Wow.
In years, and like my guess is in 5 to 10 years, any one person can do an entire movie production if they want to.
That's impressive.
Yeah. I don't think it's going to replace actors and stuff.
I don't either.
I mean, technically it could, but it's no more than like, we can do deep fakes now, right? But that hasn't replaced actually having the real actor if you can. Deep fakes are just, I think what it's going to do is it's going to be an entry point for filmmakers who want to break into the business. It's going to be much easier for them to do indie films on a really low budget because they have AI. Mm-hmm. And it's going to open that's what my prediction is. We're going to see a like the same reason you see books on Amazon are like flooded with indie books now because authors can just put them out. It's going to be the same with films. There's going to be like that kind of thing where people can just put films out with AI.
That'll be very interesting for a lot of like fan films of like people who are in fandoms they're probably never going to get an adaptation.
Yeah.
It would be very interesting to see what someone could come up with for like a Mistborn.
Oh yeah.
Or like Cradle. I would love this.
That's the thing is Brandon Sanderson could use AI to create his own Mistborn movie.
Yeah.
Like that's wild to think about.
It would be interesting. I mean, I still don't think he would go that route because I think he wants to support like the animation industry or whatever, which I mean, I respect.
Sure. There's
a show. Have I told you about the whole Arcane thing on Netflix that like they're huge they're huge Netflix fans, which would make sense because they signed their paycheck. No, they're huge Mistborn fans.
Oh, okay.
And Sanderson is a huge Arcane fan,
nice.
And he really wants to tap them to do a Mistborn animated show. I've never seen Arcane, but it's on my list, and people who've watched it just love it. They say it's really good. So that'd be interesting. That looked awkward.
It was. I thought the table was closer, so I was trying to avoid just going ga-doom. So I was like trying to find it. Anyways, I think we're about up on time, my friend.
Yeah, I think we're tapped out.
This was a good episode.
It was interesting. I'm very excited to watch more Cobra Kai and Daredevil.
Oh yeah,
and
especially Cobra Kai.
Yeah,
Cobra Kai eats Daredevil for breakfast.
I'm gonna disagree with that, but
well, you're much more of a comic book fan than I'm a big comic book movie fan, but I think you're even more.
Yeah. The thing is, I also love The Punisher.
Oh, okay.
Anything with The Punisher in it is going to eat anything else for breakfast.
That's fair. I do love The Punisher too. He's probably my favorite. He's kind of a Daredevil villain, but
well, I mean, not really. I mean, that's what makes him so interesting. Is like they fight, but like I think Daredevil respects him.
Yeah.
But like just not how he handles conflicts. Yeah. But I see what you mean by like he's kind of an antagonist. Definitely not a villain, but yeah, they're at odds. I love him though, and John Bernthal is so good.
Oh, dude, I love
that role.
Yeah.
Oh, I bought the mic again. But yeah, I'm really excited for all that.
I'm excited for the next episode already because I'm sure, hopefully, the next cast drops before then.
Oh, that would be awesome.
But we got a lot of stuff coming up that I'm excited to talk about.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man, it's summertime, baby. It's movie time.
Yeah,
we're about to have some really fun things to talk about.
And on top of that, we still got to watch Nobody and Law Abiding Citizen and
Hottie Bumbalati.
Oh yeah, dude. Oh! Okay. And that's a sign that I'm going crazy.
When did they make so many movies? What's up with that?
Was that supposed to be Seinfeld?
Yeah.
Okay.
You were confused because you laughed, and he's normally not funny, so that threw you off.
I was actually going to make a comment about you have no right to quote him since you hate him so much.
Since I haven't seen Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. That's true.
Anyways,
I think that does it for this podcast today.
That's Gandalf, everybody. Yeah.
All right. Are we good? Is there anything else you want to say?
No, I think we're good. We can sign off.
All right.
Signing off.
Bye-bye.
We'll see y'all next time.